Did you know that one of the things that can keep you stuck in self-blame, being triggered, and stuck in the same place is something called your pain body? It can really hold you back, and it can create all kinds of drama in your life. In this episode, which is a brand new take on a topic we initially released a few years ago, Fiona and I revisit what the pain body is, how it can stop us in our tracks, and how it can help us when it's clear and functioning properly. And after the discussion, we get to the most important part. The group frequency calibration associated with this episode is where the frequency work happens and where change actually occurs. So be sure to listen to that. Without releasing distortion patterns targeted by the GFC, the change you want will be more difficult to attain because you haven't addressed the root of the issue. If you know someone who could use help with this, please share this with them. My name is Karen Cheong, and today, in Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, we're discussing the pain body.
So we're going to talk about the pain body today.
Yeah.
Did you like how I got dressed in red for the pain body?
Yeah.
That's a nasty little sucker.
It is.
Okay, so I have a million questions.
Okay.
I mean, Eckhart Tolle, I think, was the first person that actually openly discussed this thing called the pain body.
Yes, he did.
And I mean, I read his book and I kind of got it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm still grappling with the extent or the influence that the pain body has on us under a frequency resonance.
Yep.
So can you unpack, first of all, what is the pain body?
Yeah.
What's its purpose?
Yeah.
I mean, do we really need to have it?
Yeah.
Can you not just get rid of it for us?
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Things like that. Okay, so we'll start with what is the pain body. So you're right, Eckhart Tolle was the first one to actually define it. And I am not an Eckhart Tolle expert. So from what I understand, it's a sheath around you of negative emotion that has not been discharged.
Yeah.
That's what I understand it to be.
Yeah.
And so from my perspective, I view it a little bit differently than him because he talks about it in a very specific way. Okay. So to me, it looks like, or is, a sheath that's around your physical body. So it's like, imagine like a Russian doll, okay? So like this is a very thin sheath, and it looks like mesh to me, okay? And it can get really sticky and like clogged up with stuff. Let's call it negative emotion, story, memory, that type of thing. So it can get really, really clogged up. So imagine if you had a mesh and like on a screen for a window, and you threw mud at it, and you keep throwing more and more mud on it, then all of a sudden that screen is no longer transparent. You can't see through it. It's very heavy. Trying to see through the screen, all you see is the mud.
Okay, so that kind of describes it, what it looks like to you.
Yeah.
But I also want to know why do we have it?
Yeah. So it is meant to be an indicator to us of something that needs to be resolved. But because we don't know how to use it and we haven't been aware that it was there, we just sort of see the world through the filter of the pain.
And so we're kind of like a victim of it?
Yes, so we're a victim of it. So really the pain body, if it's clear enough and if you're vibrating high enough, what happens then is it's an indicator to you because it's very fast. It shows you where you're very reactive to something and very oversensitive to a particular trigger or situation or behavior or words that other people wouldn't be triggered by. And it can be very severe, like that reaction. Because you have a history of pain with it, and because you haven't cleared the pain body, it is like you become hypersensitive to that kind of stimulus. It's a little bit like PTSD, actually.
Right.
Okay? So it's almost like, so for example, I have a friend who, because of what she'd encountered with her relationships when she was a teenager, she always had a history of her boyfriends cheating on her.
Right.
Okay? So she has this wounding where men that she's attracted to would leave her for another girl or woman.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pain associated with that because, of course, she had her heart broken and there was trust and all this sort of stuff that's been violated.
Yeah.
Okay? And because she has this, she's very oversensitive to when anything looks like a situation similar to this that might cause her pain.
Okay.
So let's just say she's with somebody she's not even dating. Okay, she's just like
you know, they're friends. She's getting a little extra attention, but they're not like girlfriend, boyfriend yet. They're just like, you know, kind of doing that dance at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then another girl comes by and hangs out. And the girl's kind of a little flirty or whatever. Now her pain body, my friend's pain body, would activate. And she would get really like either angry towards the girl and or him or to herself. She'd be like, you suck, you don't, you know what I mean? You're not pretty like she is, you need to be more pleasing, whatever it is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So either the pain would need to be released in some way. So meaning her oversensitivity, right? So she would either lash out at him or her or herself, because the pain body, when it gets to a certain level of fullness, needs to be released, right? Or it feels worse and worse and worse and worse to the person. It just becomes more and more and more amplified pain. So that's what pain body can do. It makes you kind of crazy a little bit. Do you see? You like lash out at all these different people. You can create drama. You can create chaos. I've seen people when, for example, if they're about to do something, there's a lot of change, their pain bodies will flare because it's like their pain bodies are resisting that change. They're like, no, we don't want that change to happen.
Wait. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
So the pain body has a consciousness?
Yeah, it kind of has this, especially one that's distorted. So you have a pain body. So remember going back to my mesh screen that's caked with mud.
Yeah.
Okay, so the pain body can get more and more distorted. So the screen itself can become more and more distorted and not function the way it's supposed to, which is to keep out, you know, mosquitoes or flies or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It starts to do, so it crumples and it does some kind of weird thing that it's not supposed to anymore.
Yeah.
That's what the pain body has become for most people.
Okay.
It distorts and distorts and distorts and distorts because there's been so much pain that's not been released in some way, shape, or form that's healthy, that it's now a little bit like crazy town, right? It's kind of like, it starts to, like you say, have its own consciousness to protect itself or protect the person in a way. I know it
Okay.
sounds a little bit strange, but that's what happens.
Okay, because I was going to ask you what comes first, or what came first, the distortion and then the pain body, or the pain body and then the distortion, or
Yeah.
are they kind of parallel?
They're parallel.
They're parallel?
Yeah, they're parallel. Yeah. That's my perception
Yeah.
at this time anyway, is that they're parallel. So you'd asked a question initially, why do we need the pain
Yeah,
body? Can
why?
you just get rid of it?
Yeah.
So remember when I said at the beginning that the pain body actually can be helpful to us as a tool, but you need to be clear enough of your resonance, high enough in your vibration, and have your pain body be clear enough that you recognize it as a tool.
Right.
Okay? So meaning that you have enough distance from your emotions and your thoughts that you realize that's not you. So when your pain body flares in a certain way, you recognize it. You're like, oh, that's me being a little bit crazy here, because so in the sense of that girl,
Yeah.
because I'm triggered, like I'm really overreactive when a man doesn't pay attention to me and pays attention to someone else, because it reminds me of the wounding that I have, the hurt that I'm not enough, that I'm not worthy, that I will be betrayed, that I will be abandoned. All that pain, that's what that behavior is telling me is coming down the road soon. So I'm going to shut that pain down by either lashing out against him or her or myself.
Okay. Okay, so if I'm in that position, because my mind's going loop-de-loo here, and I want to confirm the removal.
Yes.
So how do I discern between pain bodies being triggered and distortion patterns
Yeah.
are up?
Yes.
How do I discern the difference between the two? Yeah.
If it's a very distorted pain body, you'll recognize, because they'll kind of play in a not good way together. So what I would do in that moment is confirm the removal. Okay, so in that moment of that, it doesn't matter what it is in that moment. Does that make sense?
Right.
You don't have to have the discernment of like, this is a distortion. No, this is my pain body. You're just like, I'm going to nip that distortion pattern in the bud. So for me personally, what I would suggest is you're like, I'm going to confirm the removal of this distortion pattern of non-worthiness, of not feeling loved, of not feeling attractive, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd confirm, remove the distortion. And what will happen is your pain body has less to get agitated about as you release more and more of your distortion.
Oh.
They work in parallel together.
So it's kind of like, if I was to imagine it, just
Yeah.
to make it easier for me to understand.
Sure.
There's like this little grumpy pain body
Yeah.
messer thing
Yeah.
that got pissed off.
Yeah.
And so now it reaches for a distortion
Yeah.
to
Yeah. And amplifies the
and
distortion.
amplifies it.
And amplifies it.
Yeah. Okay, so when you confirm the removal of that distortion, it's left with no tool to
Exactly.
agitate.
Exactly. And so not only do you release the distortion, but you assert your authority. You're like, there's a part of me that realizes I'm greater than my pain body. That's greater than my thoughts. That's greater than my emotion. That's me as infinite, indestructible consciousness. There's part of me that is greater than that. And that is the part that has authority here, not you, pain body, in this moment being grumpy town. Okay.
Okay. So then you can become the master of it instead of it becoming the master of
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay.
So then, when you start to assert your authority over it, right? You're not trying to oppress it. What I mean by assert your authority is meaning you have an understanding of yourself, an aspect of yourself as greater than that pain body.
Yeah.
Then what happens is you can start to use it as a tool where you're like, okay, I just got really overreactive there. Okay, so like take the example of that same friend.
Yeah.
Instead of like, she would watch herself be like, get triggered. You know, she'd be like, whoa, I'm like really jealous right now. It's like I can barely have a decent conversation with this girl. She's just being who she is.
Yeah.
He's in response to her, but I'm going crazy town over here.
Yeah.
Right? So then she's like, okay, it's my pain body, right? Now I need to go be by myself. She would like go into a little room by herself, take herself away from the situation.
Yeah.
Go for a little walk, breathe, whatever she needs to do to come back into her body in this present moment and be like, okay, I'm going to confirm and remove the distortion. Remove the, you know what I mean? She just confirm removal of the pattern.
Yeah.
And what would happen is she would start to feel better and better because as she did that, she's like, I have authority, the greater me. So I'm not going to let the pain body get the best of me.
Yeah.
I can see it. And then she would work on herself and then she would be able to have a different kind of conversation, a different kind of like experience as a result of her managing her own distortion patterns in that moment or deleting them and managing her pain body. And what was cool is because she would then be in that situation, because they're still at the party, he's still there with this other girl or whatever. She's like, okay, how am I now in this situation? You know what I mean? She would just kind of like, can I be with this? And if she couldn't, you know, she would deal with it in a GFC later when she went home or whatever, that type of thing.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, why do we want to, you know, what's so important about the pain body? Why are we talking about it? You know, why do we need to take interest in the pain body?
Yeah, first of all, to know when it's active and know that what it is that's going on, how it works with your distortion to amplify those distortions. Like you said, it like agitates things. So that you learn that you have authority over your pain body, so that you can understand that it is a tool to show you like, hey there, you still have a distortion right here because it still hurts you. So, you know, it's not about like becoming impervious to feeling. That's not the point.
No.
But it's to show you like, hey, you still have a distortion here that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
So it's meant to help you. It's not meant to like crush you with like, it sucks. You know what I mean? It's become that way for most people, but it's not meant to be that way.
And I can imagine as well, taking your friend in that situation that you're describing, when your pain body's flared and then your distortions are triggered, you don't see anything else.
No.
Right?
No.
You're only seeing the thing that's triggering you and pushing them distortion patterns to the surface.
Yes.
And if we stay there, we miss all these other opportunities that could be happening.
Exactly.
And so that's, I guess, is another valuable reason to know what it is,
Yes.
know how to manage it or deal with it, or you know, have the tools to access the. I haven't finished my question because I think my question is part of. So why do you work on the pain body at the end of every GFC? And
I clear it.
IFCs. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you remember, I had mentioned that to me, the pain body is like a mesh.
Yeah.
Okay. And so literally, I'm like hosing off the mesh. Okay, you're just like shaking it out.
Okay.
So the reason that I do that is because your pain body has a memory.
Right.
And so if I clear it, I've noticed, and I didn't intend to do it. Like if you listen to my GFCs from like way when I first started, I didn't do it because I didn't know the effect of it.
Yeah.
But I learned from observing people and how they were responding in terms of the work, that if I didn't clear the pain body kept a memory of you before the frequency work was done. Okay, so it's just like, this is the version of you that had all that pain, all that distortion. You eventually would release it, but it would take a little bit of time to integrate with the new higher resonating version of you. It would just like take some time.
Yeah.
But if I just clear the pain body and like reset it, then you would still go through integration, however you did that. But you wouldn't have this like messer, like you said, like clinging on to this memory of like, remember you used to be like this.
Yeah.
You used to suck in this way. You know what I mean? They would do like all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It actually like clears it. It has like a new set point. Now it's like, okay, now you still have to do the work to integrate, to come into that point of the higher resonating version of you. But you don't have the same like dragging wheels, so to speak, on the back.
And the work is confirming the removal.
Confirming the removal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that I understood that.
Yeah.
All right. So the pain body ultimately can be a very useful tool.
Absolutely. Yes. It just has to be clear, meaning you have to understand what it's for and have distance from it and understand when it's active. You know, and that's part of what you do when you start to release your distortions, because you start to come into at some point.
Yeah.
It's not at the beginning, you know, when you're all like in the throes. I remember the beginning, you know, when you're in the throes of all the distortion and you're just trying desperately to like release the distortion patterns. But at some point, it's like your head comes over, you get to a tipping point where your head comes out of the water and you're like, oh, it's kind of clear up here.
Yeah.
And that's when you start to observe things differently because you're not so entrenched in the emotion of thought.
Yeah.
And when that happens and you have a lot more space and distance and you can start to see things from that distance is really critical. It gives you space to have like a couple of beats, like 1, 2, 3 seconds. You're like, wait a minute, what's really happening here?
Yeah.
You know, where you're not getting pulled right into the emotion and the thought and the reactiveness.
And that's what the pain body can do when it's not a healthy pain body, shall we say.
Yes, yeah. When it's bogged down and like distorted and like really messed up, which is what happens with a lot of people. It's not like you intend to do it. It's just that humans have a response to pain. Okay, not just physical pain, but emotional pain, psychological pain. We have a response to it.
Yeah.
And we store it somewhere. And where we store it is in our pain bodies.
Yeah. Thank goodness that you reframe or change that pain body at the end of every GFC.
Yeah, because it's just sticky, man.
Yeah.
It's just sticky.
Now, can we do that ourselves?
If you get to a certain frequency resonance, you can. So meaning...
Maybe I need to reframe that question. Can we clear our pain bodies ourselves?
Yes, if you are over a certain vibrational level. Yes, and I do teach it.
You
actually.
do?
Yes. So I have taught how to clear your own pain body. Like with everything in frequency work, it's always a spectrum, meaning your vibrational level or frequency resonance dictates what you can affect and what you can do. It's always like this. Okay, it's always, you know, as you say, the box standard answer, whatever you say, but it's like this. It says everything. Okay, like that's why we keep harping on in the beginning of every single GFC. It's like your resonance determines everything in terms of your reality, how you perceive it, and what you can affect. So the higher your vibrational level is, or your frequency resonance, the more effective you are at doing certain things like clearing your own pain body. Okay, and for some people, you can't at the beginning because you're in it, right? Like you're in the quagmire of the distortion patterns. So you can't do anything really except for confirm the removal. But like I said, you get your head above water at some point because your resonance is high enough. Then you can do things, a whole bunch of things, and exponentially increasing number of things, like clearing your own pain body, and you become more and more effective at it the higher your resonance is.
Okay, so what will you offer us in the GFC in this episode?
So for this GFC, what I'll do is to help you get space from your thoughts, okay? And your emotions, because that's the trigger point for the pain body, right? You get right in there and you think that all those, you know, like you said, when the pain body is agitated, you're in it, meaning like all you can feel is all those emotions and you feel all that pain and it feels horrible and all you can see in the world is that. You're seeing through the filter of that pain and that is it. So the more distance you can have from your thoughts and emotions, the easier it is for you to be aware of when the pain body is being triggered. So that's what the GFC is about.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you who want to gain more distance from your thoughts and emotions so you can raise your frequency resonance even more, then I highly recommend watching or listening to the group frequency calibration associated with this episode. And if you've liked this episode, please click the like button and share it with a friend. We're about to start the group frequency calibration, or GFC, where we actually do the frequency work and where change is catalyzed. To get to the GFC, click on the square that'll appear to the right or the link in the description below. It's time to bring in a new experience, a new consciousness, and a new world. Let's rise together.